Arizona is on the verge of joining the Big 12. Arizona State begrudgingly seems to be getting there, and Utah seems more open to the idea than before. Welcome into the YouTube channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football and conference realignment all day, every day. I'm live twice a week. Make sure that you click subscribe if you have not, if you are interested in this type of channel. Obviously, I'm not in the normal setup today. I am on the road on vacation, but with so much going on, had to get you a little bit of an update here. We are out of the Arizona Board of Regents meeting, which of course happened last night. Would have been Thursday night. Thursday night, we had an Arizona Board of Regents meeting. We did not come out with any sort of action. We do not have for sure Arizona or Arizona State in the Big 12, but there are sort of different tenors going on with both groups there, Arizona and ASU. Let's get to the reporting on this and what is being said coming out of it. Pete Thamel from ESPN says Arizona is in deep discussions about joining the Big 12 with a deal expected to be finalized in the near future. So this is the kind of language you're going to start seeing about Arizona right now. Deal expected to be finalized. We are very close to getting across the finish line for Arizona, but there seemingly has been desire, understandably so, from the Board of Regents and the Big 12 to announce Arizona and Arizona State together and potentially for the Big 12 with more. Whether or not that's going to be Utah, we will discuss in just a moment. More from Thamel, though. The school is amid the final steps, sources said, including detailing the move in an Arizona Board of Regents meeting Thursday night. Big 12 presidents and CEOs met Thursday to vote on approving the move. Sources confirmed to ESPN, another sign of the likelihood of it happening. So, yes, that is a big sign. The Big 12 has okayed bringing in Arizona. The runway has been cleared. So, when these are big steps, Arizona certainly moving toward becoming a Big 12 member, including CBS Sports here, jumping on that bandwagon too. Dennis Dodd said, one source said the Wildcats have become, quote, a hard lean toward the Big 12 after days of conversations about whether to leave the conference. Hard lean, another pretty good summation, it would appear, of where Arizona is at right now. Thamel, though, would go on to detail now the rest of the situation here. The spotlight will quickly shift to Pac-12 members Arizona State and Utah, which could take a few days to determine their future. The Big 12 has also courted them, the final two of the so-called corner schools, but they have always been on a separate timeline from Colorado and Arizona. Arizona State and Utah have been more conservative in their approach, but sources said the tenor on that has changed recently with the flurry of events. So Arizona State and Utah, as we know, we talked a lot here on this channel, and I chuckle because of the back and forth with Utah fans, but we have talked a lot about the reluctance from Utah and Arizona State throughout this entire process. Michael Crow, very loyal to Larry Scott, even in the Pac-12. Michael Crow, the president of Arizona State, not the greatest of leaders to have at the helm as of right now, and Michael Crow does seem to be complicating things a little bit. Here's what Thamel has to say. Arizona State President Michael Crow has been a staunch supporter of the Pac-12 and had been a longtime advocate of former Commissioner Larry Scott, even after the league's trajectory went wayward. But the urgency of the league likely being reduced to 8 schools has begun to push Crow past his deep loyalty. All right, so there's Thamel's update on Arizona State. Jason Scheer says, despite the shenanigans of Arizona State President Michael Crow during tonight's Board of Regents meeting, Arizona is confident it will be in the Big 12 with or without ASU. So that's a little bit more of a kind of dragging the feet sort of an idea with where Michael Crow is at. And speaking of that and being dragged, the Arizona State 24/7 reporter says, quote, it's almost like he's being dragged across the finish line. A person directly familiar with tonight's Board of Regents meeting told me about Michael Crow. So Michael Crow does not really want to go to the Big 12 at all. Another thing that's been said over and over here on this channel, but the necessity of the situation is probably going to make that happen. And that is, you do not need $24.5 million with almost everything on streaming. And that is what we now know is essentially the Pac-12 deal from Apple that had been offered. So Arizona State going kicking and screaming a little bit. What about Utah? Here's what Pete Thamel has to say about Utah. Utah has been conservative in its realignment discussions, but the two-time defending Pac-12 football champion appears to be more open toward Big 12 discussion. More discussions would be necessary for either Arizona State or Utah to move. So there has not been nearly as much information, it seems like, available out there about Utah and what it is exactly they're thinking, but we have seen now in a couple of places that they are at least open to it and that their mood has changed. And I think, how could it not? With Oregon and Washington being pursued by the Big Ten now as well, something that we will chat about in just a moment. In fact, how about right now? Because Washington had a Board of Regents meeting. That is your other update from Thursday. This was late at night. Washington's Board of Regents emerged from executive session, quickly adjourned without taking any action at 10:35 Pacific. So that's 12:35 truck stop time, everybody. 12:35 truck stop time last night. Washington's Board of Regents ended their executive session. The one thing I will point out about the reporting around Washington, because don't know a whole lot other than it sounds like the Big Ten offer is going to be in the mid-30s, so not a ton of money for Washington and Oregon if they are to go to the Big Ten. But we got this really funny quote, actually, out of the Seattle newspaper from Mark Schulzer, who is a politician. He's a senator. Referring to Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott, Schulzer added that one loser they hired is coming back to haunt our state and the entire West Coast. And I think many would share the sentiments on that, but had to drop that in there because I thought that was too good not to share in all of this. Okay, so what about the Big Ten? What about Washington and Oregon and the Big Ten and how they play in here? Ross Dellinger says Big Ten's offer to Washington and Oregon is expected to be $35 to $40 million annually per team, a figure that with the additional cross-country travel could create some hesitancy, sources tell Yahoo Sports. However, exits for the four corner schools could sway Oregon and Washington to leave. Seems like it's been a bit of a game of chicken on both sides right now, and Oregon and Washington do not want to make this jump. The Big Ten, put it this way, the Big Ten does not want to consummate the Oregon and Washington piece of this unless the four corner schools are going to the Big 12 and they wouldn't feel like they are the ones specifically killing the league, which is a ridiculous notion in and of itself because they already killed it by taking USC and UCLA. But I digress. That is the mood right now. To underscore that, here's a little bit more from Pete Thamel. Oregon is now viewed as charting the course for the Pac-12's future. If the Ducks are comfortable with a Big Ten offer, Washington would follow. But there's also a chance Oregon may be comfortable with the ambiguity of the Pac-12's deal, stay put, and try to dominate the Pac-12. There's a sense the Big Ten's decision could be tied to what the remaining 3-4 corner schools end up doing. But there's also the idea those schools want to wait and see what Oregon and Washington end up doing. The fascinating dynamic of hoping someone else goes first underscores one of the concerns that has loomed here. No one is eager to pull the plug on the Pac-12. But everyone is also scrambling so they don't get left behind. That leaves a landscape filled with paranoia, fake hustle, lies, and hopes. Sounds collegial, huh? No, it sounds exactly like conference realignment. And topic for another video that may be coming, but it has been interesting to watch the national reaction to all of this. Lots of very sad obituaries for the Pac-12. Lots of mourning the loss of the Pac-12. Just didn't seem like we had the same energy when it was the Big 12's life that was on the line. But there's a lot of that out there. And it is not a great world. It's a backstabbing world. It's a tough one for the Pac-12, but they're in a difficult spot right now. Sure, things will continue to move fast. By the time you're watching this, who knows? All four corners might actually be in the Big 12. But keep it tuned to the channel. Keep it tuned to me on Twitter at @JLKurtz. Going to do my best to keep up with a little bit of content for you here, even though I am on vacation. That is how you know I'm dedicated on this channel. So I'd appreciate you clicking subscribe if you have not. I'm live 2 times a week, typically Wednesday and Sunday. It's been way different here with all the realignment happening and extra content dropped in too. So make sure you follow here if you're a Big 12 fan, college football fan, college hoops fan, or you love conference realignment. Thanks, take care, and I will talk to you soon.